the sun.
Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTP. We're back with another video. Finally, I've been able to record something. We are here with the 2018 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Deadpool. We have Deadpool 2, obviously the sequel to the first Deadpool. It has been a long ass time since we've seen that one. Finally, I've returned to the Deadpool franchise, and honestly, this is a movie that I feel like I've seen bits and pieces of, but I haven't really gone in depth with it. So here we are. I haven't really seen this in its entirety, I don't think. This was like the first time me doing that. So just like Foyer Ado, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine on a streaming service, Disney Plus of course, under like the recommended, and they know my style. So I figured I'd check out this movie and then sometime in the week transition to the other film over the next couple of videos. I think first we're going to do an NFL recap, then we're going to do a Penguin review, and then we are going to return to the franchise to close it out with Deadpool and Wolverine, which is going to be awesome. Obviously, this movie very much foreshadows the unity of Deadpool and Wolverine in their latest film, which is fun. You should not watch this video if you aren't into spoilers, just to be safe. If you haven't seen this movie before, I wouldn't recommend you watch it. And obviously, more Ryan Reynolds, love that guy. We're just gonna dive in. Again, if you haven't watched the movie, just be safe. I'll try to be careful, but let's go. So getting into the premise, this movie once again follows wisecracking mercenary Deadpool, who meets Russell, an angry teenage mutant who lives at an orphanage. He's kind of an outcast. Again, he's a mutant, and this whole orphanage has mutants in it because they obviously can't survive in the real world, especially if they're children. When Russell becomes the target of Cable, a genetically enhanced soldier from the future, Deadpool realizes he'll need some help saving the boy from such a superior enemy. He soon joins forces with Bedlam, Shatterstar, Domino, and other powerful mutants to protect young Russell from Cable and his advanced weaponry. Obviously, we learn also that there are motives behind Cable and why he wants to kill Russell. They have like a long history with each other, and Deadpool maybe wants to help him change history. This is a time-traveling, like, badass kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger type of character, which is pretty cool to me, I think. Is he that way in the comics? Again, I'm not really sure. We'll talk about the comic book influence here in a little bit. Really interesting story. A lot going on in this movie. You know, uses long history between characters to build motive, so that's cool. Again, if you're still around and haven't seen the movie, I'll try to be careful, but if you hear anything that may remotely sound like a spoiler, just leave the video, because in terms of the positives, the negatives, and all that stuff, we might get into that. You never know. There's obviously the whole X-Men thing. We will talk about all that shortly. Starting with the good, in terms of a visual spectacle, the film is great. Sorry if I sound nasally as well, I'm still a little sick. And that is expected to be the case when you have Ryan Reynolds in the film. Like we saw Free Guy pretty recently. I think that's his name, the name of the movie, Free Guy. Such a great movie to look at, you know, decently choreographed action scenes, fun slow-mo, cool shots. It's got all the visuals that you need out of a high-end comic book film. It does really good in that regard. Humor aside, we will talk about that shortly as well. This movie does mostly everything that the first one does well. I know it has been a minute since I've talked about or even seen the original, so kind of hang in there with me as we kind of compare the two. Obviously, we know Ryan Reynolds to be a national treasure in modern movie culture. The guy is incredible. You know, the way he can flip the switch from smartass to badass is fucking great. And it's not something we've seen a whole lot of, if any, actors juggle. I think Ryan Reynolds, to an extent, is probably the best actor at doing that. Super awesome actor. Perfect character for him and perfect role for him in any movie where you get this guy in, you know exactly what you're in for, and you love it every time. A really good balance of funny and serious, especially like as just his character alone. I don't know how he keeps doing it. I mean, just like I say with Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn, I truly believe there's no other actor out there that can play this character like Reynolds does, and there never will be, probably. No matter how many adaptations, no matter how many renditions they have of Deadpool, I don't think anyone is going to touch his adaptation and his role and his character and, you know, his portrayal as Deadpool. I mean, it's so well acted that you would think that's how Ryan Reynolds actually is, and I don't know Ryan Reynolds personally, but it'd be fucking awesome if this is how he actually acted. Is it? If you know him somehow, let me know in the comments. I'm just kidding. Deadpool's personality in the superhero world is unmatched. There's no other superhero that has that personality, and I hope that is something, which I'm sure it will be, that he carries into the Wolverine and Deadpool film. I'm sure we will not be disappointed by that. There's going to be plenty of humor mixed in with the action, especially because Hugh Jackman's like the badass action character too. You know, he has Hugh Jackman as a running mate in that film, and my god, the hype they build up for that in this movie and the foreshadowing ending, it's fucking awesome. Like the Easter eggs, the post-credit scenes, it's great. I loved it. It built up a lot of anticipation, and it's honestly a perfect time to watch Deadpool 2 now that we have that movie out, and I can watch that in a couple of days, you know? It's awesome. Very high quality, epic film. Again, just such a great movie. Slight improvements from the first film in some regards, and I won't say that this is better, but in terms of quality, it might have the edge over the first one. Just some of the scenes and set pieces, they made a slight step here, I will say that for sure. The different heroes in the X-Force and like that whole concept was a fun idea as well. Just the whole X-Force thing in general. I heard that they have another X-Force movie coming out. I don't know if that ever released, because obviously this came out 7 years ago, pretty much. So those rumors are kind of circling around. The girl that like, Simply Lucky, you get Domino, the Average Joe, all these guys made for some comical moments. Hilarious. No pun intended with comical moments, by the way. I loved it. The X-Force sequence was fucking hilarious.
Holy mommy fucking shit!
Oh, there they are. Look at these gorgeous sons of bitches. Oh yeah, that's right, Bedlam.
No! Ripping motherfucking Billies!
Domino was awesome, especially great character. But one last thing, although the movie used humor to be dramatic at times, there's genuinely some heartwarming moments here, especially at the end. Again, we'll get to the humor kind of interfering with things, but there were some pretty emotional moments for sure in this movie. Honestly, for the bad, this isn't something that's really the movie's fault, it's more my fault. It kind of sucks that I don't remember the first one as well as I'd like to kind of go off of for this review and this film. Obviously, the first movie is amazing and it's extremely iconic and it's one of the best comic book movies of all time. I don't remember it bit by bit, scene by scene, to know kind of everything that this movie is referring to, what it's bouncing off of, some of the plot lines that can continue. I think my experience would have been better had I seen them at the same time. Again, that's on me. Some of the characters are a bit corny. That's sort of the point. I don't know. We'll get into some of the characters in the mixed section as well. The bad, there's just not much bad about this film, and my review might not echo that so much, but we'll get there. Getting into the okay, just kind of the mixed elements of this film. The movie is funny. I get that. It's hilarious. It's a really funny movie, one of the funnier comic book films I've ever seen, similar to the first one. It's almost like too funny at times though, and it tries too hard to get a joke off that it sort of got exhausting after a while, especially in the beginning. Like the goofy nature and the comedy was very over the top when we were starting this movie. Again, that is on brand for Deadpool, and some people like that. I get that completely. You know, some of the humor is amazing, of course, too. Like the scene when he has baby balls.
What in the... Why is your hand so tiny again?
That's not my hand.
Oh, Mary, Mother, Joseph!
That was nice for me.
Wait! I heard what happened with the convoy, and Oh. Why wouldn't you cover that up?
A warrior has nothing to be ashamed of.
How about you do? I mean, look at you. You're just straight shirt cocking it.
All the stuff with the X-Force crew and the parachuting scene and the auditions, it has its moments, but it also has its bad moments. And, you know, I would say mostly like the excessive cultural references is kind of the source of the error here for the humor. They reference things a little too much. You know, they have satire towards Hollywood, which is funny at times, but they do it a little excessively sometimes. I'm mixed on the humor for these reasons. Also with the humor, it's hard to ever have an extremely genuine moment with this movie. Everything just has to have a joke at the end of it. And again, I know I said there were some heartwarming and some pretty emotional and genuine moments in the film at times, but it never really got to that point that some other comic book films have gotten to. Also, just getting into Cable was a weird character to me as well. He had no emotion. Obviously, he was badass, and that's the stereotype with these badass action heroes. No personality, no remorse, just robotic action hero that kicks ass. I didn't really care for this character as much as I did for other characters. Deadpool, Domino, Russell in particular. If they kept some of the X-Force members around and killed off Cable, I would have probably been fine with it, you know? Josh Brolin's still a pretty good actor, and we've covered him on the channel. Just the way he portrays this character, it's not his fault, obviously, it's the writers that give him the cues and all that stuff. Maybe if I read the comics, it would have been better of a movie, who knows? I can say that with every comic book movie, and maybe I'll understand Cable's character a little bit more, but that's kind of all I got for that. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, pull up the tier list, this is a solid 8 out of 10. Could be a little higher in the 8s, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit strict on that because I think critically and commercially this movie is incredible. You know, a lot of people are talking great on it, but there were definitely a few over-the-top elements to it. I get that's the point, and I know this isn't your run-of-the-mill comic book film, but at a certain point, there are standards and rules and expectations to film like this. And I feel like this movie is, in particular, might have bent those a little too much at times. I'll say this 100 times. That is the point of Deadpool, to bend the rules and be satirical and make fun of all these other superhero movies. But come on, we're not The Boys level of satire. We don't want to be that. We want to be taken seriously as a comic book film. Like, critically, you know, in terms of a legacy for this franchise, maybe they don't give a shit. I don't know. Maybe I don't know their motives, but still, it gets to a point. I think if I watch this again, it might have a higher score. I think I could probably get this up to an 8.7 out of 10 if I had to guess. We're going to keep it solid, flat, 8 out of 10. I think it does its job. It's more than does its job. Like, it's a good movie. Like, I would say it's borderline amazing. It probably is amazing. I don't know. There are some things to it where it's like, okay, you're doing a little too much here. Maybe tone it down a little bit, even though that's the point of the movie. Anyways, I'm going to try not to cough for the rest of the video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, there it is. So, obviously, the NFL season, regular season ended yesterday, and I should be recording that today, but I kind of forgot about that. So, you should be getting an NFL recap tomorrow. There were actually quite a bit of good games this week. We're going to finish off The Penguin on a strong note, episode 8. Then we're going to get back into this Deadpool stuff, maybe watch another movie, and then who knows? We might get into Squid Games and start re-watching all that stuff to get us kind of caught up. So, peace.